This Monero Matteo video is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Safely store, send, receive, and trade your Monero on Cake Wallet on Android and iOS. What's going on, guys? Monero Matteo, welcome back. We are back in nature, and I talked on my last nature walk about social media and how, I didn't have it before I started the channel. I was just kind of living off the grid. But now that I'm back on, I need to get out in nature, and I need to just get away from my phone that much more often, because a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of people in despair out there, a lot of people in fear. And if you get caught up in all that, which it's easy to do because the way that these social media networks are engineered is to make you get sort of caught up in all that stuff. You want to get the likes, you want to get the retweets, so you want to talk about what's going on. And for me, what's going on in the other part of the world, not that big a deal, even though it does kind of affect us. And I'll just speak on that quickly. So in regards to what's going on in Afghanistan, guys, the only thing that you need to be concerned about, or at least be aware of, don't necessarily be concerned, stay at peace, stay in serenity, but we have the world reserve currency because we are able to enforce the use of the dollar across the world with our military. And typically what happens is a lot of these countries, they sell their oil in dollars, like Saudi Arabia, and then they recycle those profits into U.S. treasuries. They buy our debt. And when they buy our debt, that makes it so that we continue to bolster our military and then further enforce our dollar hegemony and secure shipping lanes and secure the passage of oil through the world and things like that. And so that's just like a feedback cycle which loops in itself. And when you've got guys like Saddam Hussein, for example, in Iraq, who want to start using the euro instead of the dollar to transact in oil, well, boom, see ya. Same thing with Gaddafi. He wanted to start using like the gold dinar. He wanted to start using a different currency and set up his own trade union in Africa in order to sort of veer away from the global hegemonic financial system. Well, boom, we took him out too. And so the reason we do that is because if we don't enforce this throughout the world, people will be less incentivized to use the dollar, because as we talked in our video yesterday, when countries work for us, their goods and services, they send us their goods and services, all we do is ship them dollars. Like, we don't make anything here in the United States. Our trade deficit is going to be like $1 trillion this year, which means that we are shipping in $1 trillion of goods more than we are exporting. And so our situation is completely unsustainable. I think like 25% of the population gets its money directly from the government. And those are people just on welfare. I mean, that's not even considering all the people who work for the government, the people in the military. And wow, are we starting to figure out the consequences of that based on the mandates that they're pushing down on people. Sorry, it's a web in my face. I'm on a path not so often traveled. But yeah, so we enforce this dollar hegemony. And when it comes to places like Afghanistan, well, when all of these countries, which are kind of coerced into using the dollar, which is becoming less and less attractive because of inflation, maybe they want to use the euro, maybe they want to go to gold. We see a lot of countries buying a lot of gold now. Russia, they've completely de-dollarized. Hungary is picking up a lot of gold. I think Afghanistan actually recently just tried to get their gold back from the New York Fed, and the New York Fed was like, no, that's not going to happen. We're going to keep it. Who knows? Maybe they don't even have it. But maybe it was just like stolen out of the vaults by the criminals who run our country. But here's the deal. This may be something which starts a domino effect, and China may pick up influence in the region, and they're already doing the Belt and Road Initiative. They're already working with Russia to establish a Eurasian trade zone. And so you have a lot of things going on in the background. And so that stuff could kick into the next gear because of the fall of Afghanistan. And we're already seeing how the Taliban is taking over lithium deposits in Afghanistan. And that could probably be picked up by China, or they can make deals with China for that stuff, because China is very much big on rare earth minerals and minerals in general. And when you have that much control, and I think China has like 80% of the world's supply of rare earth minerals. And rare earth minerals are very important for a lot of things. And so, yeah, this only makes their economic leverage over the world that much more strong. And when it comes to China, they're having more and more economic leverage throughout the world. They're picking up ports from all these countries in Africa. They're indebting a lot of these countries, like they're giving them a lot of loans to build up their infrastructure and to build up their economies. And these loans are typically for high interest rates. And this is nothing new. This is what the IMF and the World Bank and us have been doing for a long time. You know, these third world countries, we give them big loans that we know they can't pay back. And when they can't pay it back, we take their natural resources, we take their ports. And that's what China's now doing in places like Africa and other Asian countries. Okay, so they're expanding their influence. And the dollar reserves are at a 25-year low, which means that there is already a de-dollarization happening. And so with all of this being considered, there is a big flux now happening in the global financial markets. And it could be that, you know, we could be going on to a new financial system. And we talked about this yesterday with the Money Today show. Maybe crypto has a big place in this. And it could be that these central banks, what they try to do, I'm at a fork in the road now. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on here. Maybe I'll just keep going. But maybe when the dollar loses major status, we will have everybody go to a particular cryptocurrency. But as I was about to say, sorry, I keep getting distracted. There's a lot going on here in nature, which is what I love. But, goodness. Yeah, so it could be that these central banks, like the Russian central bank, the Chinese central bank, and some of these other central banks, which have been buying lots of gold, they could fight against the global adoption of crypto with a currency which is backed by gold. And with gold, it's not like the central banks won't have any more power to print money. They'll just be printing it on top of gold. There's still going to be a fractional reserve banking system. They're still going to be able to push out a lot of credit, and they'll still be able to have a lot of influence. Because think about it, paper money is actually like a layer 2 solution. And we were talking about the Lightning Network before. The Lightning Network is a layer 2 upon Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is, you know, quote unquote, the digital gold. And gold needed a layer 2 so that it could be used more efficiently. So you would deposit your gold at a bank. They'd give you a collection of gold certificates that you could redeem at a bank for your gold. And then everybody just traded these certificates because it was easier to walk around with paper money than it was with a bag full of gold. And so that could be what they try to do next. They could try to back whatever currency that they have coming out with gold in order to try to fight this global crypto adoption. And we'll see how that works out. But that's bullish for gold, by the way. Oh, goodness gracious. Get out. But little gnat trying to fly in my eye. But in regards to Afghanistan, I've ranted on this a lot, but that could be bearish for the dollar. And that could start a chain reaction of people wanting to use the dollar less. And if we could get defeated by a little ragtag force, which has, 70-year-old weapons and a mindset going back to this century, which probably helps for military operations, then, how threatening are we as a military? And, it could be that China makes a move on Taiwan because they see weakness in the government. And right now, I mean, goodness, if China attacked Taiwan, who in God's name would want to, follow them into battle against the Chinese? I'm not signing up for that. No way. Pair of pants right here. Very nice, very nice. Carl, where are you? But, it's a very volatile world we're going into. And I don't say that to freak people out. I don't say this to spike any kind of doomer endorphins in you. But look, this is all just things that we knew were coming. And this is why we have the positions that we have. This is why we worship Jesus Christ, because at the end of the day, we never know what happens. I mean, I could get in a crash on the way back from, my hike here, and that could be it. You never know. Life is unpredictable like that, which is why you always stay vigilant. You always have faith in the Lord, and you don't really worry. You don't really worry. I mean, guys, life is eternal. This is just a temporary stay, and it's all about your good works and your relationship with God. And I made a tweet that the cure to despair is action. The cure to despair is courage. And when you have these things, then you don't really give in to fear too much. You just do what's right. You do the right thing, though the skies may fall. You speak the truth, though your tongue may be cut out of you, right? And so, all this is okay. All this is okay. Everything will be okay. And we're about to be walking up on some beautiful sights I'm excited for you guys to see. And as for Monero, we need to take action and stop going in despair about the death of the dollar and all this stuff, which should happen anyway. The dollar should die. We were talking about Michael Saylor and how he wants to have the dollar continue to be the world reserve currency, which means he wants to continue to have the global military be in control of the world and coerce people into using this disgraceful fiat currency. Now, I don't know if he understands the implications of that, but that's essentially what he's saying. Now, maybe he wants that to happen because he has a lot of relationships with the government. He does business with the Department of Homeland Security. He does business with the Defense Department and with the Department of Justice. So maybe he is kind of forced to say stuff like that. But then again, he's just compromising on the truth. He's compromising on goodness for gains and for business relationships that he wants to keep. And, it's not great. So check this out, guys. Isn't that beautiful? So, you gotta enjoy the day, man. You gotta rue the day. There's no one here. It's a weekday. Everybody's in the office. This is my office. That's the beautiful thing about this, right? But I'll probably stick around here and pray a little bit. This seems like a perfect place to, settle the mind and get the spirit atoned, But I want to continue this talk because I just like talking to you guys. There's just so much on my mind. And in regards to Afghanistan, if we lose world reserve status, guys, to juxtapose the beauty that's going on here, it's going to get wild here in the United States because we won't be able to afford the welfare state. And you've got 40 million people on food stamps, right? And then you've got tens of millions more who work for the government who aren't going to be able to get paid. We're not going to be able to pay out Social Security to all the elderly. And if we do, well, it's probably going to be checks which are significantly under the actual rate of inflation, which means they're just going to be bled out kind of financially. And so, it's going to be a disaster, and it's going to be really scary on a temporal sense. I mean, don't give in to fear, but, scary in the sense that we are just apes and animals who are trying to survive. So that is going to happen. And so, then there's going to probably be like a Thucydides trap type of thing where, because we have so much internal chaos going on, countries which have order in their own internal affairs, well, they'll be able to expand. And what countries are those? Well, for the most part, Russia and China. And we're not going to like that too much. The globalistas, who I think, have good relationships with China. I'm not sure about Russia. I don't think they like Russia because Russia has become a very Christian nation over the last couple decades. And they're building a church every week. If you guys haven't seen it before, you guys need to go look up the new military cathedral they just built. I forgot what the actual name of it was, but go just type in Russian Military Cathedral 2021, and it's the most beautiful piece of architecture. It looks like it was made by aliens. It looks like it was made by a Type 1 civilization. But they're rebuilding after a century of communism. And we're kind of going into that today. We need to fight against it. And guys, don't give in to despair. I have to continue to say this. We can win this fight. Okay, I mean, just get into Monero. We're going to be making these alternative economic systems, and maybe I get bombed by NATO for saying that, but look, we gotta, if you gotta buy cookies on Amazon because they want you to use like the central bank digital currency, no, say no. Like, no, I'm gonna go to the dark web and buy it from some sketchy dude. I'm gonna go to anonymouscookies.com and use my Monero to buy cookies, right? Just to stick it to them. Okay, and somebody made a comment on one of our videos and they're like, hey, it could be that the dark web becomes bigger than Amazon, right? Even just for basic staples and goods, because we don't want to go along with this. And it's a kind of protest. Like, hey, we're going to use Dero Monero Pirate Chain to just, live. And they want to cut us out of the economic system anyway, right? They want to say to us, hey, if you don't have the stabby, then you can't get the ID. And if you don't have the ID, then you can't get onboarded to the new financial system that they're coming out with, which, by the way, if you guys haven't checked out the interview that I did yesterday with the Money Today show, you're behind. You got to go check that out. Like, the information in there is key. I'll probably have him back on. We'll do more conversations. Check out his channel. A lot of good stuff there. But yeah, they're making a new system, guys. And if they don't have sufficient information on you, it could be that you can't be onboarded to the system. And then it becomes rather hard to live. And so we need to make our own economic system to fight back against this. I mean, it really is kind of like an economic war that we're in. And that's the most serious war that we could have, because if they could, through network effects, get enough of the population into this network, then it's going to be significantly more difficult for us to attain freedom, because then there will be momentum. Then there's going to be more of a cost to not become part of the system. And it's sort of like a tragedy of the commons type thing, if you think about it, where the more tyranny there is, the more cost that there's going to be for people to not be part of the tyrannical system, because the tyrannical system is going to come after them, and it's going to impose major penalties and costs for them not to be part of the system. And that is going to be the case for a lot of the people who spearhead the movement out of the system. And it's not going to be until there's like a critical mass reached to follow those who are trying to lead the people out of this tyranny that there's a fighting chance. And then that tragedy of the commons situation turns into, maybe I'm talking about diminishing returns, but then it becomes less costly to follow those people, and then a movement out of that system occurs. But we need people right now in this very sensitive time where we are in flux and things are indeterminate to go to Monero, go to these private digital currencies. Because if we do not have the strength, and if we don't have the virtue, and we don't have the resistance to say, no, I'm okay not having these gains. I just want to be out of this tyrannical system. Because what's happening now is a lot of people are getting paid off, essentially, with gains in order to help facilitate the movement into this new system. Like a lot of the libertarians who would otherwise be very skeptical of what's going on behind the scenes with crypto. And again, check out our interview yesterday. We go into the deets as to how the World Bank and the Federal Reserve and, the Treasury secretaries and all these people are in on crypto and what they're doing behind the scenes in order to set up this huge, massive cryptographic panopticonical surveillance system. Well, if you get the libertarians on board with things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they're then invested in the idea of crypto, who's going to be speaking out against the crypto movement? Who's going to be calling the alarm saying, hey, I know I told you guys that crypto is awesome, but by the way, these banksters are getting into it. And then people will be like, wait, you said that this was against the banksters and this would defeat the banksters. And it's like, well, if we look at Ethereum, we look at some of these other cryptos, it looks like they could be making a move. And it's just like, wait, what? Okay, right? And so just look at this, guys. But anyways, we got to get into these things. We got to get into these things. We got to continue to transact in these things. And I may have to learn how to use the dark web. I don't know how to use it. But I tell you what, with everything going on, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be part of this system anymore. We'll have to find alternative routes and we'll have to build alternative networks. And so I hope that my brothers in Monero, the Monero bros, can follow that sentiment and tap into that energy and make this happen, right? So let's do it. There's so much beauty here, and I kind of want to stop talking about the takeover of the world by the globalist elites and just enjoy nature for a sec. Continue to pray to God, guys. Continue to go to church. Get out there in nature and enjoy life as it is right now. And worry about the future later. You know, whatever happens, happens. It's all in the will of Christ. You know, just speak the truth, do the right thing. Whatever happens, happens. You know, so it's Monero Matteo. Check me out on the links. Rumble, Odyssey especially. Follow me on Odyssey. We love Odyssey. Thank you for everyone tipping me on Odyssey, by the way. That makes it a hell of a lot easier for me to continue to get the videos up and get them promoted on the channel. YouTube, obviously. Check me out there. And then the social media links, Telegram, Twitter, Gab, all those. And I've got the donation links below if you guys are so kind to want to contribute to the channel. Patreon also. We've got benefits for our crew over there. So, yeah. Enjoy life, guys. I'll talk to you later.